Welcome back to Neal on Fire, where we talk with the people building the future of wildfire detection, mitigation, and response. Just a quick note for listeners, Neal on Fire is provided as a service to highlight wildfire innovation. I'm not paid for this podcast. Today, I'm joined by Felix Vieth, co-founder of Pyronear, a nonprofit using open source AI and low-cost camera systems to detect wildfires early. Welcome to the podcast, Felix.
Thank you, Neil. Hi, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to participate to Neal on Fire.
Pyronear is tackling wildfire risk from a very different angle than most commercial platforms, with a focus on accessibility, community deployment, and global impact. I'm excited to dig into this model and learn a little bit more about this path and what it means for the future of wildfire detection. But to start, what problem were you originally trying to solve when Pioneer was founded? Was there a specific wildfire event or personal experience that made this feel urgent to you?
Yeah, at the very beginning, it was more few people from the NGO. There was no NGO at this time, but we wanted to contribute to common good. So we've met in another NGO, which was called Data for Good. One guy, maybe because he wanted to use computer science and deep learning for common good. He wanted to help firefighters because, yeah, as everyone knows, each summer it's getting worse. I mean, their fire season are more intense and more frequent, and wildfire are more frequent. So we wanted to do something about it, but it was just the very beginning. We want to help firefighters, and maybe we can help them to detect a wildfire earlier. And then we started to call some firefighters from French fire department, and then we've started to develop the solution. So it was at the very beginning, it was quite open, even if we had a quick idea of maybe we can use computer vision to detect wildfire.
So, quick note, it may already be obvious, but Felix is in France. So, just to give you a sense of kind of where this project has taken off, and it's moving into other areas of Europe, as I understand. So, Pioneer made a very intentional decision to be open source, which is still pretty rare in wildfire detection. Why was it important for you and your co-founders to have that model and the trade-offs associated with it as opposed to the traditional commercialization approach?
Sure. The idea to make it open source, it was the idea behind is like it's a problem, wildfires, which is affecting a lot of part of the population. So we wanted to be in being open. We have the opportunity to work with many people on this subject, and the more we are and to work on it, the better the chance are we are able to tackle this issue. So from the beginning, we decided to be open source. So open source in various aspects. So all the code is on the internet. All the model, the computer, the AI model is also available in non-commercial license, so open source. And as well, and which is very important, is to open some data about some images annotated with our community. This idea is the more data there is available online, the easier it gets to provide a relevant solution. And the easier it gets, the cheaper it will be in the end. Hence, this issue will be able to be tackled by many companies, NGOs, and the less wildfires there will be.
So, for someone who isn't technical, can you walk us through how Pyronear system actually detects a fire from the moment smoke appears in the landscape to the moment an alert is generated? What's happening behind the scenes?
Yeah. So basically, what we do is to deploy some monitoring station on high vantage points, so across the forests. And each station is equipped with multiple cameras on a microcomputer. And regularly, we capture imagings of the surrounding environment at regular interval. And locally, the microcomputer run an AI model, and if it detects a smoke, so a wildfire starting, it sends it to an API. So basically, it's a service which is able to distribute the information. So hence, firefighters or other users are able to connect to the platform. So they receive a notification and they connect to the platform to see the images related to the fire and be able to analyze the situation and hence to deploy to send people to get it.
Got it. So false positives are a big concern for anybody using a wildfire detection system, utilities, agencies, communities. How do you think about accuracy, validation, and trust in the system, especially when you're deploying it in real world conditions? What do you do to eliminate or at least reduce false positives?
Yeah, we have a various strategy to reduce false positive, and our main objective is to make the usage of the solution convenient for firefighters. That's the key issue. So even if there are still some false positives, the idea is to help firefighters to tackle any alerts really quickly. And hence, to tackle so false positive, first of all, we are doing with our community continuous R&D. So we're working with researchers, engineers, data scientists, which are the top of I would say the tech solutions in AI, and the idea is to always be able to identify and work to produce a model which is performant and able to run on microcomputers. Continuous R&D is the key, I would say. And after that, we still have some strategies. We have understood that some of the time, from time to time, false positive are recurrent, which is, for example, a factory emitting some smokes. And there are some false positive that, because they are recurrent, we through the interface, we let users, or we do it by ourselves if it's too much recurring and stuff, and we occult the zone to the model, and consequently, this zone will no longer start creating alert. So it's as a second strategy, but for sure, the last strategy is to help firefighters when they connect to be able to quickly identify where is the fire on the image, what is the probability to see the sequence of images and where it is, etc. And it helps to be able to respond quickly. So that's I would say our main strategy. To be able also to have a relevant algorithm AI model, we annotate a lot of data with our volunteer communities. Even non-tech people can contribute to Pyronear, helping us to annotate data. So searching data, is this a wildfire or not? Yeah, that's
So, just to clarify, do you have a human in the loop model? In other words, is there somebody who's getting an alert and then verifying it before it goes on to first responder like a fire department? Or is that the burden of whoever's receiving the alert?
Yeah, this is a very good idea to have a human in the loop, but on the other side, it needs to have many people to be ready to analyze the images before the end user. So we are not doing it. It is interesting. We hope we will not need to do that in order to reach relevant. But so far, it has been used in various departments in France and as well in Chile. It hasn't been asked by our user to have a human in the loops. We guess we don't need to do it soon.
You brought up France and Chile. Other areas that you've deployed this beyond that, or are those the two countries primarily?
And also, sorry, in Spain, I forgot in Catalonia, so
Spain.
east of Spain. Yeah, so mainly these three countries so far.
Okay. And is your primary focus Europe at this point, or what's your plan?
We are quite open. Basically, Europe is, I would say, is easier because of because it. Yeah, honestly, we are quite open, and so far, an interesting point is that from time to time, if it's a country that we do not handle, how the field, how does it work in this country, how it is organized and stuff. Our aim is to be able to do some partnership with local companies, NGOs, or researchers, and or even directly firefighters to be able to build up a solution who fits to the country. So we don't want to uh, to deploy alone in some countries if we are not confident to know exactly the field, because the field is key. So it's really key to understand perfectly how does it work on the field. Otherwise, your solution is it's a gadget.
Understood. So, affordability is a core part of your mission. When you say low cost, what does that mean in practice? And how does that change who can realistically deploy this in the markets that you're targeting?
Yeah, it means we are using affordable materials, so microcomputers, and all the materials, and precisely also the cameras are affordable cameras because it's IP cameras you can find for home surveillance, home security, and doing that, setting up the whole package, we are providing a solution which is to install it is less than 5K dollars or euros, basically, is around this price depending on the solution, the context, obviously. This is how we propose a low-cost solution. And after that, the idea is to, as I was saying before, because we are federating a community of volunteer, which are the researchers, engineers, designers, scientists, and also firefighters. We are gathering all the knowledge in open source. So hence the research and development is partially done by our community. So we we do not pay the user for that because it has been, commonly built. So that's the main idea of how we try to provide a solution. And the idea is to make it affordable to anyone, so any country who wants to use it. But also in some places, if there is a lot of the topographies of hills and mountains and stuff, you need a lot of cameras. So it's even more relevant to have a low cost system, which is just low cost, yeah, but not. It's cheap, but not. It's cheaper, but it's good performance.
So, given that you're relying on a team of volunteers, how does that work when you are looking to add enhancements, change the software, do some engineering, feature additions, and you have a volunteer force that comes and goes based on time they have available? How do you ensure consistency and being able to put in relevant features in the future in a consistent way?
Yeah, the main idea is to product community roadmap, and we are still few of us are working for the project every day in daily life. So the idea is to identify what will be the feature which is required to do it in a 6 month time, and according to the time we have, we decide to either find a volunteer who wants to do it or to do it by ourselves. So to be sure it will be done in the right time. But the idea is to define a roadmap and to anticipate some features we will be asked and to propose it to our community. Yeah, it's about it's a product management viability of resources. So the idea is to have a lot of elements to provide to be able to, if there is a lot of people who wants to contribute, to feed them with fun subjects. And by doing that, so far, we have been able to provide solution in the right time for users. So we are quite happy about it. But if you want to contribute, anyone listening here, we are happy to to get some help.
Right. So, beyond the fees that communities would pay for the software or for cameras, whatever it may be, where does Pioneer get the funding? Are there other sources of grants or community-based funding that you're operating on currently?
As we are an NGO, we also apply for some grants to be able to animate the community, to also experiment some R&D for our hardware R&D. And also, for example, we get the opportunity to have either some grant from French government and specifically as a direction for digital innovation in France, in between all the departments of the government, wants to be involved in developing the digital commons. And for that, they have helped us by putting some human resources to work on the project. So it was really huge because for a time, we get some help from the inside of government. So they put some resources. So the idea is to look for funding or people who wants to contribute. And for example, there are many situations that can appear. Another situation is a CTO from a company, a huge company, but he was CTO on projects and of the company, and is about to retire, and he wants to dedicate more time to common good. So he has started to work with us a few days, 1 day a week, and from time to time. So it's also an opportunity for people before. doing a switch in their career and stuff. They provide some resources, so a company can either give us some money because they want to support protection of ecosystems. Otherwise, it can be by providing some resource, so some people who wants to develop with us a project.
You're operating as a nonprofit in a space that's increasingly commercialized. There are a lot of companies entering it, there are a lot that already exist. How do you handle it when a community or one of your target customers is comparing your solution versus that from a commercial organization? Beyond cost, what do you see as the benefits of working with Pioneer?
I think some of the benefits are some strategic autonomy. So you got your sovereignty if you work with open source technology. You are more able to either to get to used to how it works, and even if Pyronear was going to disappear, which I do not want to, you can find some people to work on the code because it's open. So it's a key element, I think, which is very important. So it's a differentiation approach. And after that, about performance, if there is a lot of company with a lot of different prices, let's have a look on performance, and then we'll see. So we are quite confident because we provide the solution which is low cost and open. So for us, it's I would say it's even easier to talk about the strategy because for sure we want to have a huge impact and we do not want to make some profit. So it's easier to talk about them.
Let's get into some use cases. So we talked about France, Spain, and Chile. Tell us a little bit about each one of those, what the environment is, how many cameras, how many people you're protecting in the community. Anything you can share would be, I think, helpful for the listeners.
Yeah. In France, there are about 30 stations. On each station, there can be multiple cameras or only one. There are also, so it's in basically French, French geography. In France, the France is mainly cut into 100 departments. And we are working with 7 departments. I would say 7% of the market. Not it's not exactly that because some of French departments are not concerned by not that much by wildfires, and some of them are a lot of issues, specifically in the Mediterranean part, and some other parts are also at risk. And so in France, that's it. We also deploy the system on existing cameras. So if the hardware is already here, we provide some solution. So, and it's about in France, 20 cameras in this situation. And in Catalonia, in Spain, it's about 25 cameras, something like that. They are not exactly sub 25. And in Chile, there is a 15 station, and they are actually deploying some of them. So the aim is to reach 20 to 25 by the end of the month, the end of the fire season. And there are a lot of more to come in Chile as well.
So, from what I understand, the system primarily uses PTZ cameras and then has some AI and does a lot in terms of detection, awareness, and so forth. But what about integrating things like ground sensors and satellites and so forth? Do you have plans to make the platform more robust and incorporate more relevant data?
I think it's a good point and it's a good idea. It will be, I think, complementary to what we provide so far. We've discussed with some of companies or projects that are providing this kind of solutions. So far, we haven't been able to find the opportunity to integrate some of them on our platform, or on the other hand, the platform provided by another company. I think it's interesting about satellites because it's complementary in a way. I guess in some areas it's difficult to cover an entire territory with a lot of cameras. Thinking about maybe some really isolated part of rainforest or some forest in Canada. And for some of them, maybe it could be relevant for users, firefighter, to have some of the areas which are protected with hardware so cameras on the site, and also to be able to have some spotted detection from satellites, which are less. They arrive less quickly, but at least they arrive. So I think it's a combination of all the system who can help to cover an entire big area. It's a combination that will be the success, maybe. But I think it depends of the area. So far in France, it's more relevant, and it's possible to put cameras to protect, I guess, the forest and ecosystems. Maybe we might not need satellite, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
So, given your model, I would imagine adding in additional tech like ground sensors and satellites and so forth presents a challenge because you then need to find volunteers who are subject matter experts to integrate that into the system, as opposed to more of a commercial company that has the funding and the engineers to do that. But thinking through the three countries that you've talked about, France, Spain, and Chile, were those deployed using grant money, or did the countries themselves or the communities pay directly for that?
In Spain, it was a community, and in Chile, it's a grant. So far, they've been deploying deployed through a community or grants. But so far in Chile, it is not the users who have been paying for the solution.
So, when you think ahead for the next year or two, what's most exciting for you about what you're doing at Pioneer, and what enhancements do you expect that you're going to add in over that time?
I will be glad to have a huge gap in performance for detection to really remove drastically false positive, because we still have, and it's still the issue of every, I would say, company or NGO in this situation, because it is the first aim. So we are eager to do some gap in performance, so not gap, but improve significantly to be able to provide a solution which is without a human in the loop, very convenient to use, and so that's our aim to provide some convenient usage for our users. And also a great thing is to work with various people from various environments. And so far, our contributors were mainly, not only, but mainly from France and Chile as well. And we will be glad to receive more contribution from international, from anyone over the globe. And it will be also, I think, a kind of success if we are succeeding to have a contribution from each continent or something like that. So we're working on it. So, but we had a few of them, but I would be really glad to receive more.
Is it safe to say that you have a basis of detection primarily using cameras and your AI software that you're going to work to continue to improve, but when it comes to adding in, UAVs and satellites and so forth, that's not as important. You're really focused on being able to provide a solid level of performance for what you offer and offering enhancements around that instead of chasing every new technology to add into the system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we're doing, and I think it's wise enough for us to focus on it and to solve this aspect. And when it will be perfectly done, we could be open to do as with our community other exploration. But the community has been tried to develop a new risk model to identify areas. So we still have some people who wants to try some stuff, but the main focus is to have a success in early wildfire detection through cameras.
So we've covered a lot about the Pyronear model, and super interesting. It's completely different than anyone else I've talked to before, and I think clearly from what you're doing in the three countries and others that are interested, there's a need for this level of detection. I'm wondering, in everything that we've covered, is there something we missed? Is there something else that you'd like to share about the company or what you're doing?
Sorry, because I'm thinking about it, and sorry about my French during the podcast, and thank you for having listening so far. I think what we would be happy to share, thinking about it, but so far I would say we are really open to work with people who wants to make science open. So our technical solution open and affordable to the world, I would say. So if there are some people hearing who wants to help to deploy to have more impact or to improve the solution, we will be happy but they can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to discuss.
Felix, thanks for joining me today. It's been a fascinating conversation about what you and the Pioneer community are doing. wildfire risk, particularly in the areas you're talking about, are only growing, and it's encouraging to see models that provide detection where otherwise communities may not be able to afford it. And I think that that's a really important mission that you're on. Thanks to everyone who listened today, and be sure to subscribe and join us next time on Neal on Fire.
Thank you. Bye-bye.